السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. أما بعد. We begin in the name of Allah, the Most High, the Most Gracious, the one to whom belongs all praise and all thanks. We praise Him, we thank Him, we seek His assistance, we ask Him for His guidance. We beg Him for His forgiveness, we seek refuge in Allah from the evil that is within us. And we seek refuge in Allah from the consequences of our evil deeds. Whomsoever Allah guides, none can lead astray, and whomsoever Allah allows to stray, none can guide. I bear witness that there is no being worthy of worship except Allah alone, the one true God, without any partners. And I bear witness that Muhammad ibn Abdullah is His servant and His final messenger. We ask Allah to bless and protect His last and final prophet, his family, his companions, and those who follow his way until the end of time. Some time ago I heard of a story of two parents, a mother and a father, who learned that their 6-year-old daughter was terminally ill. And when the doctors informed the parents were told that not only is their daughter sick, but she only had a short time left to live. And the next few months were spent between the parents taking the daughter from the hospital back home, to the hospital, back home, again and again. And towards the end of the girl's life, she remained in the hospital. And when the doctors thought or perceived that her time was really close, that she was about to pass, they called the parents and they said, "We think you should come now." And both parents, they came to be with their daughter in her final moments. And after their daughter passed away, both mother and father, husband and wife, they fell into prostration. Now the nurse that witnessed this, she was puzzled, she was shocked. She didn't understand what was going on. So she inquired from the parents, "What are you doing? Your daughter's just passed away." And the parents, they explained to her, they said that yes, we are overcome with grief and sadness. And we are feeling an immense amount of pain at the loss of our daughter. But at the same time, we're so grateful to Allah that He allowed us to be her parents for 6 years. That He placed her in our lives. That her moments of joy and happiness were shared with us. That we had the ability to nourish her, to take care of her, to hold her, to hug her. And even in the moments that she was crying and she was sad or scared, we were the ones that Allah had placed in her life to comfort her and to console her. So we're just so overcome with gratitude and thankfulness to Allah that He put her in our life. Yes, it was only 6 years, but still, we're so grateful that He put her in our life. I start with this story because this story is a reality, it's a reminder to us that our time in this world is finite. It's not unlimited, rather it's limited. Our life is like an hourglass, and the sand is falling through. Some of us may have a lot of sand left, and others may have very little sand left. But the same thing applies to our loved ones. And for the sake of this khutbah, when I use the term loved ones, I'm speaking about very specific individuals. When I say loved ones in this khutbah, I mean parents, children, siblings, and spouses. Parents, children, siblings, and spouses. Ask yourself, what if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, today or tomorrow or next week, took your spouse from you, took your parent from you, took your child from you, took your sibling from you? Do we live with the knowledge that that loved one is on loan to me? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given that person as a loan to me? That person is an amana, is a trust. You know, one of the phrases that were taught by the Prophet ﷺ when he would give condolences to people that had lost a loved one, he would say, "Inna lillahi ma akhadh wa lahu ma a'ta wa kullu shay'in 'indahu bi ajalin musamma." That indeed to Allah belongs whatever He has taken, and to Him belongs whatever He has given. And every single thing with Allah has a fixed appointed time. That loved one, that spouse, that parent, that child, that sibling is going to go back to Allah. So many of us think that every day when we wake up in the morning, we take it for granted. We think that person, that loved one, will definitely be there. We think that there is no possibility that they will be gone. But the reality, life tells us otherwise. There are people today that woke up in the morning and they thought their mother or their father would also wake up. They thought their child would wake up. They thought their sibling would wake up. They thought their spouse would wake up. But today, just today, there are people that woke up and they realized they lost a loved one. I want to share in the minutes that we have together just 5 keys to really valuing our loved ones, to having a successful relationship, and truly being grateful and thankful for these loved ones that Allah has placed in our lives. Because sometimes we're so self-centered, we think about ourselves and we forget that person in front of us, that spouse, that child, that one that is deserving of our compassion, our mercy, our love, that we may be doing them injustice by simply not appreciating them. How can we correct that? How can we fix that? Number 1, be intentional. What do I mean by be intentional? The Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith that perhaps many of us or all of us have heard, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, that indeed actions are by intentions. That person, the way we treat that loved one, that may be our path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When I speak kindly to my spouse, when I help my sibling, when I'm supportive of my child, when I listen to their stories, and yes, sometimes or many times their stories don't have any benefit. It seems like they're just talking on and on and on. But those little interactions that we have with them, those passing moments, each one of those, the kindness, the gentleness, the support, being the shoulder that they can lean on, all of that is ibadah. When I'm patient with my spouse, when I'm forgiving to my sibling, this is us refining ourselves. They say that being intentional, it changes the flavor of daily life. It allows us to actually experience and enjoy and taste the pleasure of life. But to do so, we have to be intentional. That this person, this loved one, Allah has placed them in my life. This is my path to Allah. So everything I do for them, to them, is an act of ibadah. Yes, prayer, reading Quran, fasting, all of these are great actions of worship that Allah will reward us immensely for. But as well as these interactions with our loved ones, these are some of the greatest forms of ibadah that we may be rewarded for. Number 2, embrace gratitude. This is something very essential in our religion, this attitude of shukr, of thankfulness and gratitude. They say that gratitude, shukr, it magnifies what we already have. When we embrace gratitude, it allows us to actually realize and feel how blessed we are. There's so many people that don't have what we have. There's someone that still has their parents alive, and on the other side, there's someone that's hoping their parents were still alive. There's someone that has siblings. There's someone that's hoping they had or wishing they had siblings. When we embrace gratitude, it allows us to realize how blessed we are and realize that we have things that other people don't have. If I can ask everyone to move up so we can make room for those that are outside and those that are still coming. Please move up. Many times we're focused on what we don't have, or we're focused on what hasn't happened, or we're focused on the failures. That's why so many of us are unhappy, because we're always doing the opposite of embracing gratitude. What we need is a shift in perspective. When we shift our perspective, we'll actually realize what we do have. What is there? Start looking at the good of your loved one. Start looking at the good of your spouse. Start looking at the good of your sibling. Start looking at the good of your parent. I heard a beautiful line, and it can be applied in many ways. But sometimes children, they have this resentment towards their parents. I wish my parent was like this. I wish my parent had given me this when I was a child. For many of us, this statement will hold true, but we don't realize it. That our parents may not have given us everything we wanted. Our parents may not have given us everything that we wanted, but they gave us everything that they had. They gave us everything that they had. When we appreciate our loved one, whoever that loved one is, that person, when they feel appreciated, they will be willing to go the extra mile to even make you more happy. If you feel like your loved one is falling short, be appreciative of them. Show gratitude to them. And you'll see a person who feels appreciated is willing to go further. We're always looking at things with a critical eye. Once again, we need to change. We need to look at things with the eye of gratitude. There was a story I heard a few months ago. An imam in another state. He told the married brothers after Salatul Fajr. He told the married brothers, he said, I want all of you to text your wife, I love you. And then he told them that I want you to tell me what they respond with. So all the married brothers took out their phones and they texted their wives, I love you. The next day, after the prayer, he said, okay, I told you all to text your wives, and then I told you guys to tell me the responses. And he had gathered the responses, people had messaged him privately. So he began to tell his congregants what the wives responded with. And he said, yes, there were those small number of wives that responded with, I love you too. But then there were the other responses. Who is this? Or the other responses, please give the phone back to my husband. And this is a two-way street. It may cause us to chuckle and be funny. And it is slightly funny, but there's a sadness to it. The reality is the people that are closest to us sometimes are the ones that don't hear that phrase. That when they see it, when they hear it from us, they're perplexed. Who is this? Do I know you? Saw a video or videos that went viral. There was an experiment that parents were doing on their children. It was a good experiment. Parents, they would record an interaction with their child. They would go to their child while their child was doing something, playing a video game, eating, doing something where they were engrossed in it. And the parent, the mother or the father, they would go up to that child, whether it was a 4-year-old or a 16-year-old. The ages were all different. And the parent would begin to tell the child, I love you. I care for you. You mean so much to me. I can't imagine my life without you. Now the first few initial phrases, the child would continue to be engrossed in whatever they were doing. But as the comments kept coming, you mean so much to me. I love that I have been able to see you grow. And your happiness brings me happiness. Statements like this. And in every single video, the child that was so engrossed in whatever they were doing, they stopped and they began to stare at their parent. And their eyes became filled with tears. And in many of the videos, the children began to cry. And they ran to their parent and they gave them a big hug. This is the power that we have with our statements. Whether these are statements that we make to a child, to a parent, to a sibling, this is the effect that it can have on that person. Number 3, be akhirah focused. This dunya that we live in is a deception. Every single person wants more of it. We think that the more we put into this dunya, the more we will get out of it, which is not necessarily true. But these relationships, the more we put into these relationships with these loved ones, the more we'll get out of these relationships. Because these relationships are an investment in the akhirah. They are guaranteed to bring you back a massive profit, to bring you back a massive reward. Every relationship becomes easier when we think that this relationship is not just a relationship with my loved one, but this relationship is an investment in my akhirah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to appreciate our loved ones, to give them the care, the attention, the compassion, the mercy that they deserve. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us be intentional in our relationships, to embrace gratitude in our relationships, and to be akhirah focused in our relationships. أقول ما تسمعون واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. I'll quickly share 2 more points. Number 4, be realistic in your relationships. First of all, no one's perfect. I'm not perfect, you're not perfect. We can keep telling ourselves we're perfect and our loved one is not perfect, but all we're doing is lying to ourselves. Don't have a false image of relationships. Many times we see relationships on TV, in movies, on the media, or we hear of other people's relationships, and we think these are the perfect relationships. Many times what we see is only the good of that relationship. We don't see what happens behind closed doors. Many times we're frustrated because we have set expectations too high for our loved ones. And they say that the gap between expectations and reality is where frustration lies. What do I mean by that? Sometimes for our children, for our spouses, our expectation is up here and reality is down here. So if expectation is up here and reality is down here, everything in between is frustration. But if expectation is here and reality is here, then the amount of frustration is much, much smaller. Be hopeful, aim high, but at the same time be realistic. Manage your expectations. And when that loved one falls short of your expectations, lower the wing of humility and mercy. I learned of a story just last month. A girl in college, her father wanted her to pursue a particular career, particular path. She didn't want it, she didn't desire it, she was not into it. But she tried. She tried because her father not just wanted it, but was almost forcing her to. And when she couldn't do it anymore, she just wasn't interested, she wasn't passionate about it, she went to her father and she told him nicely, "My father, that I can't pursue this career anymore, I'm just not into it." So her father, overcome with anger and just being upset, he told her, "Either you do this, either you take this career path, or I'm going to get you married as a punishment." What do you think she did? Within a few days, she ran away from home. The parents immediately, they went to the local imam, their eyes filled with tears, telling the imam, "Our daughter ran away." Manage your expectations, aim high, hope for the best, be hopeful, but at the same time be realistic. That we're not perfect, and similarly, our loved ones are not perfect. The last one that I'll mention, remember death. Now this is a reminder that we've heard before. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. Every single soul will taste death. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, أَكْثِرُوا مِن ذِكْرِ هَادِمِ اللَّذَّاتِ. That frequently remember the destroyer of pleasures. But this doesn't just apply to ourselves, it applies to our loved ones. Ask yourself, what would happen tomorrow? What would happen if tomorrow your loved one was gone? We don't know what's coming. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what tragedy may strike. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and our loved ones. But what regret would we have if that happened? What regret would we have for the past 5 days, for the past 5 months, for the past 5 years about how we treated that person? The problem is, many of us were so caught up in our bitterness, in our resentment of that person not meeting our expectations, that we begin to treat that person with this passive-aggressive nature, making passive-aggressive comments, not showing that person the love and the mercy that they deserve. Get out of that cycle of resentment. Get out of that cycle of bitterness. Get out of that cycle of anger. And treat that person, whether it be your spouse, whether it be your parent, whether it be your child, whether it be your sibling. Treat that person as if tomorrow is their last day. Treat that person as if you may never see them again. And do that. And do your best at it. And realize that you will fail. But when you fail, pick up the pieces and try again. So that when they do pass, you're not full of grief and remorse that I should have done this, that I should have treated him like this. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us be intentional in our relationship with our loved ones, to embrace gratitude with our loved ones, to be akhirah focused with our loved ones, to be realistic with our loved ones, and to remember death in regards to our loved ones. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us with the best character. Allahumma hdina li ahsani al-akhlaq, la yahdi li ahsaniha illa ant, wasrif anna sayyi'aha wa la yusrifu anna sayyi'aha illa ant. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. A few announcements as we end. There's a sister who passed away in Pakistan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to shower her with His mercy and His forgiveness and to make her grave a garden from the gardens of paradise. A few announcements in regards to community events. There will be a lecture by myself today. The topic is the journey of the soul after death. It will be tonight here at MCC at 7 p.m. Please join us. Also afterwards there will be a youth bonfire after Salatul Isha. Also, Al-Manar Weekend School registration is now open for Saturdays. You can register online. There are weekend Quran class teacher positions available. Visit the office for more details. And then finally, on February 12th, there will be a seminar from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. called Reclaiming Our Faith. Everyone is encouraged to join. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us. We ask Allah to give us the best of this world, the best of the next, and to save us from the punishment of the hellfire. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as He is the turner of hearts, to make our hearts firm upon His religion. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cure those that are sick. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy on those that have passed away. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Aqim as-salah.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salati, hayya ala falah. Qad qamutis salatu, qad qamutis salah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
Staw, staqimu, straighten the lines, close the gaps, make sure the line in front of you is completely filled. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة عليها ملائكة غلاظ شداد لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون. يا أيها الذين كفروا لا تعتذروا اليوم إنما تجزون ما كنتم تعملون. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا توبوا إلى الله توبة نصوحا عسى ربكم أن يكفر عنكم سيئاتكم ويدخلكم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار يوم لا يخزي الله النبي والذين آمنوا معه نورهم يسعى بين أيديهم وبأيمانهم يقولون ربنا أتمم لنا نورنا واغفر لنا إنك على كل شيء قدير. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.